I was terrified by what had happened to my friend, but even more so because I knew what was going to happen. Because the Ouija board told me. Everything got worse that night when I spoke to it again, to the board, and it told me that he, whatever it was that spoke to me through the Ouija board, that he was the one who did it. Good evening, everyone. As always, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to this space, to this place where we gather stories of encounters with the paranormal. Tonight, we'll talk about disappearances outside a church, and even a macabre game with the Ouija board that brings forth something that manifests physically, something that represents a completely real danger. That's why I must warn you that this episode contains segments that may be very shocking for some people out there. And we recommend that you don't listen to it if you're sensitive, easily spooked, or if you're pregnant, and you'll soon understand why. But now it's time to continue if you've decided to do so. If you prefer not to listen, we'll see you soon. If you choose to stay, there's no turning back now. Relato's is starting now. Of the night. Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Andres Primo, and well, here's what happened to me several years ago outside St. Ignatius of Loyola Parish, here in Morelia. I was at a retreat, and that night a friend of mine, Chino, and I had to stay on watch. It was probably around 3 a.m. We sat on the sidewalk in front of the parish with the guitar. We weren't really playing it well or anything, just, to keep ourselves awake. Everything was calm. The street was empty. And then we heard a really strange noise. I know how what I'm about to say sounds. Like one of those old ghost stories, like the ones grandmothers tell, but I swear it sounded like chains dragging. But the noise wasn't coming from a single spot. You could hear it moving from one side of the street to the other. And we went silent, both of us at the same time. We looked around, but there was no one there. No one was coming. No cars, no people, nothing. And that's when I thought, maybe I'm already hearing things wrong. But when I saw Chino's face, when I saw the look in his eyes, I realized that I wasn't exaggerating. It was obvious that he was hearing it too. We stayed silent, hoping not talking about it would make it unreal. But we both knew that that was anything but normal. Later, when we got up to do the rounds, that's when I noticed someone was there. Very close to us. Who knows how long he'd been there? Behind a pole. A woman, dressed all in black like that, standing without moving. As if she were looking at us, peeking out. I saw her for a second and thought maybe it was someone who lived around there, but I don't know. It felt really weird. I called Chino and he saw it too. He just said yes. He watched it and turned completely pale. We went back to sit down for a while, still hoping it was a person, someone normal. And honestly, we weren't calm, but it was easier to pretend that nothing was happening. Still, I had that nagging feeling. And I don't know why, but I got up again to check, like to make sure that everything was really happening. And yes, it was still there. Now we could see it better since nothing was blocking it anymore, because it wasn't hiding behind the post anymore. And that's when it finally hit us. She wasn't touching the floor, she wasn't standing normally, she was kind of floating just a little above the ground, not much, but you could tell. We both started praying. We didn't even think about what to pray or anything. We just started with the Our Father and the Hail Marys. And then the dogs from the nearby houses, they all started barking, like suddenly they all woke up. Some even howled, but in a scary way, like the dogs themselves were afraid. When we finished praying, we looked again toward where it was. There was nothing there anymore, not the woman, not the noise, nothing. Just the street as usual, the lamppost, the sidewalk, total silence. The kind of silence you expect from a street at 3 a.m. The only thing that stayed with us was the feeling that something very strange was nearby, that it had been there all night. Greetings from Michoacan. Hello, Uriel. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Greetings to the Relatos community. My name is Daniel, and thanks to the Day of the Dead stories, I was encouraged to tell you what I experienced. It's still hard for me to accept it, but despite how terrifying it was, I'm also grateful in a way for what happened. This happened 2 years and 4 months ago. I was about to turn 17, already getting close to 18. My best friend, who unfortunately is no longer with us, had just turned 17. It had only been 2 weeks. She and I were always in touch. She was in Bogota, Colombia, because she had to travel for her medical treatment. She had cancer. She traveled from Venezuela, where we are both from. At that same time, I had to travel with my younger sister and my stepfather to Ecuador, where my older sisters lived. I couldn't say goodbye to her before I left. She also traveled a few weeks later, and we didn't see each other again. For months, I couldn't go back. We only talked through video calls, and each time she looked more tired on those calls, even though my friend tried to stay cheerful. The last time we talked that night, she said goodbye to me, saying, "I love you, Chama, really." And I felt it. I felt that something wasn't right. That night, it was really hard for me to fall asleep. I had a horrible feeling in my chest, like I wanted to cry, but around 1:30, I finally fell asleep. And that's when things got weird. My body felt strange, like a current was running through me, and I couldn't move. At first, I thought it was sleep paralysis, but something felt different. I started hearing crying, first from a woman, then from children, then from more people. It sounded like they were all around my bed, crying very softly. Then I felt someone touch my shoulder, and a man's voice said to me, "Hey, wake up." It scared me that he said my name. I tried to move, but I couldn't.
Wake up, wake up.
Wake up, wake up, and then I started to hear more voices. Wake up, wake up.
Wake up, wake up.
First, like whispers telling me.
Wake up. Despierta.
And then little by little they got louder until they were literally shouting at me.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
I could barely move my eyes, but I saw shadows. Several of them, I don't know how many. That's when I woke up suddenly. I took a deep breath, careful not to make noise since my sister was sleeping beside me. I grabbed the phone from under the pillow. Not sure why, but I checked the time. It was 3:33 in the morning. I had a clear feeling that someone was watching me, and I slowly turned. I turned toward a corner of the room. And there I saw a shadow. It was darker than everything else. Very still, not moving. I began crying without realizing it. I felt a horrible pain in my chest. A sadness I wouldn't know how to explain. It wasn't exactly fear, it was something else. At 3:40, I received a message that said, "Danny, I'm going to call you. Please answer. I know it's late, but please answer." I had just finished reading when the call came in. It was Mark, my best friend's boyfriend. He was crying and he told me, "Danny, my girl's gone. She's gone." I heard it in her voice. I broke down too. The shadow remained while we talked. It didn't move. Finally, around 3:50, it disappeared. It just left a strange smell behind, kind of sweet, like flowers mixed with something stronger. And that smell lasted for hours. My best friend died at 3 in the morning. Since then, whenever someone close to me is about to pass away, whether it's a person or a pet, that shadow appears. I've been told it could be Santa Muerte. What does she want? For me to listen to her? And I don't know. I respect her because I feel that she was with me during something very difficult. Because I definitely wasn't alone. Thank you for reading my story. For me, it's a way to remember my friend. I know she wanted to say goodbye to me. And I miss her, but I know she's in a better place. I know. Thank you. Hello, Uriel. Good evening. And good evening to the community. Look, I had never told this whole story before because you think people are going to judge you, right? But after hearing so many stories on the show, I said, well, all right, I'm going to let it out. It's my turn. This happened in the 90s when I was in high school. I was about 17 years old. It was a different time. There were no cell phones, no social media. We'd entertain ourselves with any little thing. And well, I lived with my dad. That's it. He worked at night, so the house was mine from dusk until almost dawn. We lived in a tiny gated community, one where every house looks the same. I remember the streetlights flickering, especially in winter. Outside, a huge tree cast its shadow into the living room, and the door always creaked. Always. I knew that sound of the door better than I remembered my mom's voice. And well, there I was, alone every night, bored, with nothing to do. And that's when it was easy for me to buy a Ouija board at a stationery store. It was one of those fake wooden ones, painted really cheap. But to me, it seemed like a big deal. And yeah, I know, you shouldn't play it alone. I know it's dangerous and all that. But back then I was really dumb, really brave or really curious, or maybe both, together. The thing is, I played every night. Every night. I turned off the lights. I lit a vanilla-scented candle that I loved. I closed the curtain and sat on the living room floor, because that was the least cold spot in the house. And that's where I put the Ouija board. Sometimes it took a while to respond, and sometimes it said nothing. But there were nights when it did move. Very little, but it did. At first, I thought I was pushing it by accident. Afterwards, not so much. I started to understand that it wasn't like that. One night, just out of nowhere, the board told me something that chilled me, Uriel. It told me, "Your friend is pregnant." When I asked which friend, it pointed to the letter X. And well, I just stared at that little triangle like an idiot because how would the Ouija know about my life, about my friends? And specifically because here's the thing. I had a very close friend in middle school, Jimena. We were inseparable, like they say when two people are always together. But she quit school during the first semester of high school. And from there, it's like we went our separate ways. We hadn't met in over a year. I no longer knew where he lived or what he was doing. And I even asked, like it was the most normal thing in the world to ask the Ouija board, "How do you know that?" And the board answered me. Now I'm seeing it. Watching. Like this. I swear I felt like someone poured cold water down my back. I slammed the board shut, okay. Saying I closed it is a bit much. I pushed it away like it was burning. It was getting late, so I went to sleep. But that phrase wouldn't leave my mind. And days later, by a twist of fate, I ran into her. After more than a year, I ran into her. Just like that, walking toward the market, where I was going to get some fruit. I don't know. Seeing my friend was like seeing a ghost, especially after what just happened, because she had been on my mind a lot those days. She was also surprised to see me. We said hello, but something felt off. She looked serious, like she was being careful with her words. And I couldn't keep quiet. I asked him, I don't know why. Hey, and is it true that you're pregnant? That's when I saw her face change. She tensed up as if on the defensive. She asked me who had told me that. She wanted to know who I'd been talking to, or if it was noticeable on her. And I was just biting my tongue because how was I supposed to tell her a board told me? And she got even angrier. Well, look, just mind your own business. Nobody knows. Not even my boyfriend knows. And you better not go around telling anyone. What he said hurt me. It made me feel bad. Bad for saying it. Bad for seeing her like that. Felt bad thinking I might have been involved in something I shouldn't. And I left without answering her. My hands were shaking. And that night, like a fool, like an idiot, being stubborn, I took out that damn Ouija board again. I put it in the living room, and everything was the same as always. The candle, the curtain drawn, the silence of the house. I had barely touched the little triangle without even asking anything. The board started to move. It wrote to me. He, Fefe. No, going. To be born. I swear I felt like the air got stuck in my lungs. Afterwards, the board kept moving between the J and the A. Quickly. J-A. J-L. J-A. As if he were laughing. And I couldn't let go of it because my fingers were still there. Stiff. It was at that moment that the door of the house opened by itself. I heard it clearly, the creak, the bang against the wall. And then it slammed shut again, loud. I felt the house shaking a little, and I knew that very well. It wasn't my dad. He wouldn't get home until 2 or 3 in the morning. The house was completely empty, and the board kept moving as if it was mocking me, and by then I was already crying. So I asked it what it meant about the baby, and the only thing the board wrote over and over again was, "Do you want to know? Do you want to know? Do you want to know?" And when I said yes, when I finally answered yes, when I said I wanted to know, the board wrote to me, him, and yes. I didn't understand anything. Did I do what? Who was it talking about? About the baby? About my friend? I didn't understand. I put the board away as best I could. I went to my room and slept with the light on. My lips were trembling, I swear to you. Days went by, weeks. One day news spread through the neighborhood that my friend had been attacked. They said she left her house that night as if something was chasing her, that she crossed the vacant lot between her house and the avenue. That lot was always ugly. Just dirt, weeds, trash. No lights. They said it was haunted, and she ran through there alone. In the darkness, someone caught up with her. They didn't rob her. They didn't take anything from her. The only thing they did was stab her. Stab her in the abdomen. Unfortunately, she lost the baby. And the most terrible thing is that she managed to say that the person who attacked her was a very tall man. Very, very tall. And the neighbors searched like crazy while a lady took her to the hospital. But they never found him. Not on the property, not in the nearby houses, not in the surrounding streets. Nothing. Not a shadow, not a trace, not a footprint, as if that man simply didn't exist. When I heard what happened, the only thing I could think about was what the Ouija board had told me. That damn I did it. That door opening by itself. That laughter spelled out letter by letter. I got rid of the Ouija board that day. I broke it into pieces and threw it in the neighbor's trash so I wouldn't see it again. And I never touched one again, even though I've had plenty of chances. I would never do it. Not even once. Not with friends. Not out of curiosity. I still don't know what to think. If the board actually knew anything, or if it was making fun of me, if something was making fun of me, or if there really was someone there. Looking at my friend before all this happened. Yes, he really did. The thing that spoke to me via Ouija board. Thanks for sticking around, community. As always, I like to give you a break before the end and take the chance to ask you to subscribe. Don't miss the chance to become part of this family. And well, if you feel like supporting us even more, we would really appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating depending on where you're listening to us, and of course a comment telling us which was your favorite story today. That's the best way to support this project. Now then, let's continue. Hello, Oriole. Hello, everyone. My name is Valentina, and what I'm about to tell you happened to my boyfriend Ale and me last year when we traveled to Havana, Cuba. It was the first time we saw something. Something that wasn't from this world. And since that day, I don't know how to explain it, but we never saw life the same way again. Not the way we used to. Let's see. It all started because we found a super cheap Airbnb. One of those where you say, it's strange, it's so cheap, but oh well. We'd already booked it. It was kind of far from old Havana, like in a quieter neighborhood, more deserted. Definitely not touristy. The hosts, they gave us some really weird instructions to get in, as if the house wasn't officially registered for that use. We waited for quite a while to be able to get in on a completely deserted street, even though we arrived in the middle of the night. We were excited. It was our first time in Cuba, and honestly, we just wanted a place to sleep. And that's literally what we did. I woke up, and we would go to the Malecon all day to walk, to explore, and we came back late at night, tired, to shower, to sleep, and that's it. I'm really anxious and paranoid, so I always check windows and doors before going to sleep, no matter where in the world I am. Actually, Ale always laughs about that. Val, no one's gonna rob you. No one will make it up to the 3rd floor. But I check anyway. All right, our last night there, we were already ready to get some sleep. Al was already in bed, very tired, and I was, as always, checking a window that looked out. As far as I knew, it looked out onto an alley or something like that. It was a high window with an old frame, peeling paint, and community. When I raised the blind, there was a man peering in. Right there, up against the glass. An older man, but his skin looked kind of swollen. I don't know how to explain it. And he was trying to put his hand in, like feeling around, and I screamed. I don't even know what kind of scream it was, but Ale got up really fast, scared, and he saw him. He saw him. He yelled that someone was there. Sometimes I think he was even more scared than I was. I had never heard him like that before. I had never really seen him lose control before. He ran to the window, but when he arrived, no one was there. And the window looked completely black, as if all you could see was the night. I was trembling. Al was too. We chose to go to the host who lived in the downstairs apartment. We knocked hard on his door, and he came out half asleep. We told him what we saw, and the man just said, "Come, I'm going to show you something." He took us up a spiral staircase all the way to the rooftop. From there, you could see the building's facade and our windows. And he told us, that window, you see it? It doesn't lead anywhere. And he pointed straight down. The window of our room, which was barely visible because of the light it gave off, it was right up against the wall of another building, a burned one, like it was abandoned. There wasn't even 10 centimeters between the frame and the wall. Literally, not even a cat could fit in there, much less a person. I was stunned, and Ale was too. As if nothing happened, he told us it was probably just our imagination, that we were tired, or maybe we had been drinking. That happens to tourists. We went back to the room, and Ale looked out with his phone to confirm. He put the camera against the glass. And yes, there was no space on the other side. There was nothing, just a wall. That's why it looked so dark. We didn't sleep. We just waited until it was time to go to the airport. Once in Mexico, we did everything we always do. We left a review of the place. And then, it wasn't until then that we decided to thoroughly read the other ones, the ones people had left behind. The place had been operating for a year, and several reviews mentioned something similar. The man at the window? Some even said that at night, the apartment smelled like burnt meat. Some reported hearing banging on the glass early in the morning. Some said it was a good price, but it wasn't worth it if you couldn't sleep there. Others actually wrote it that way. Haunted place. I'm not coming back. As I was saying, after that trip, I don't know what happened. But Ale and I have seen more things, especially at his house. I see a woman who passes by the kitchen window at night, an old lady who peeks in. He has seen her too, but also it's happened 3 times now that he's dreamed things that later came true, as if in Cuba. I don't know, as if something had opened our eyes. The worst part is, even though we saw the same thing, neither of us wants to talk again about what peered in through that window. Because there was no way, Uriel. There was no space. What we saw there. There was no way it could be there, behind that window. It was impossible. Thank you for listening to my story, even if it's not that scary. But it's strange to think about. It's strange to accept myself like this. I can attest that ghosts exist. I'm a witness to the paranormal.